Hello everyone. First, I would like to thank the AGNF organizers for giving me the opportunity to present the PhD work I'm doing under the supervision of Michel Picardo in the lab of Rosa Cossar at INMED. The central question the team is trying to answer is how early development shapes adult neuronal networks with a specific focus on the hippocampus. Answering that question partly relies on the description of network dynamics in the hippocampus during early development, and this is what I am working on. Today, I'm going to present the result we obtained so far on how network dynamics evolves during the first postnatal week of life in mice and how it correlates with early motor behavior of the animal. In the lab, to monitor simultaneously the activity of hundreds of neurons, we used in vivo two-photon calcium imaging. To do it in newborn animals, we had to develop a new experimental paradigm that is the following. On day of birth, at P0, we inject into the lateral ventricle of the animal a viral solution containing the calcium indicator GCAM6S that then allows us to monitor the activity of all these neurons. 5 days after the injection, we performed the window implant surgery. As you can see on this coronal section of the brain, we implanted just above the hippocampus a cannula with a window at the bottom, allowing us to access the hippocampus. And if you zoom on the hippocampus, so this is the signal from the GCAM6S indicator, you can see that pyramidal cell layers are here labeled with the indicator. And this allows us to monitor their activity. Now, if we look at the Z-stack, so going from the top of the fibers covering the hippocampus to the stratum lacunosum moleculare. So here we go down, then we enter the stratum oriens, the layer in which you can see a lot of interneurons. And if we go further down, we see the pyramidal cell layer, and this is basically where we do our two-photon calcium imaging. Then we can go down to the stratum radiatum, and if we go further down, then we enter the stratum lacunosum moleculare, which is this layer in which you can see a lot of fibers that are afferent inputs to the hippocampus, and the next speaker, Erwan Leprince, is going to talk about that in a few minutes. This is the imaging plan, and now if we play the activity, this is the kind of recording that we get in our imaging, and when you see that the cells are lighting up, it means that they are activated, and then we have to analyze this kind of recording. To do so, together with another PhD student, we developed a new deep learning-based method allowing us to directly infer neuronal activity from the movie visualization. This algorithm gives us this kind of figure, which is a raster plot in which each line is a cell, and in the x-axis, you have the time. So basically, each white dot corresponds to the activation of one cell. And what is striking on this P5P6 recording is that you have massive synchronization that are recurrent over time. And then, if you wonder how these massive synchronization are correlated with motor behavior of the animal, we can do this kind of analysis. Basically, this is a peri-movement time histogram. So in x-axis, you have the time. At 0 are centered all the onset of movement of the animal. And in the y-axis, you have the percentage of active cells. What we can conclude here is that following the movement of the animal, we have a huge increase of neuronal activation at the population level. This was already described in previous studies, including one from the lab. Now, if we do the same analysis, but in a P11, P12 animal, this time you can see that following movement, there is a large reduction in population activity after the movement. To explain what could be the cause of this reduction in the activity, we turned ourselves to GABAergic interneurons. So we took advantage of GAD3 transgenic animals, allowing us to express a red reporter in interneurons while still having our GCAM6 expressed in all cells. And then we are able to redo the exact same analysis at the two different ages, but this time we are able to distinguish the activity of glutamatergic neurons from the activity of GABAergic neurons. And at P5, P6, both populations are activated after movement. But then, if we look at P11, P12, you see that there is this inhibition that we already observed in glutamatergic neurons, but GABAergic interneurons remains associated to movement at this late postnatal stages. So we hypothesize that maybe this activation is responsible for this inhibition that we observed here. To first answer that question, to enter to that question, we looked at the Z-stack that we do. So basically at the two developmental stages, so the first one, P5, P6, and the second one, P11, P12. And if you look at Z-stack, so this is in the pyramidal cell layer. Now here we are in the stratum oriens, and we will go down to the pyramidal layer. And what you can see is that we have a lot of cell bodies, but we don't see much of axonal arborization from these interneurons in the pyramidal cell layer. Now, if we look at the same kind of picture, but in an older animal, P11, P12, here what you can see in the stratum pyramidale is that you have cell bodies, but also a large axonal arborization of interneurons that surrounds pyramidal cells. And now if you look at a Z-stack, so still going down from the stratum oriens to the stratum pyramidale, here we will soon enter in the pyramidal cell layer, and you will see these cell bodies of interneurons, but you will see also a dense neuronal arborization. So maybe the maturation of perisomatic innervation that occurs in between these two developmental stages would be responsible for the inhibition that we observed after the onset of movement of the animal. So what do we have so far is that population activity switches from movement-triggered activity to movement-inhibited activity, and it becomes more associated to rest. We also observe that interneuron activity remains positively correlated with movement of the animal, and that this transition between these two developmental stages co-occurs with a strong development of perisomatic innervation. So what do we want to do next? First, we will whether this maturation of perisomatic innervation participate in the transition that we observe in population activity. We would like to find a way to manipulate this maturation, and if we are able to do it, then we will know what are the functional consequences of, for example, a delayed maturation of perisomatic innervation. Then, to understand better the circuit mechanism supporting this transition, we started to do tracing experiments. We hope that this will help us understand better what are the inputs that interneurons and pyramidal cells receive during early development in the hippocampus. With that, I would like to thank all the team members that are involved in this study. First, Rosa Cossard, our team leader, Michel Picardo, my PhD advisor, as well as two other students involved in this work, Julien Denis and Erwan Leprince. And I would like to thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jerry and I'm one of the technical application scientists for BioLegend in the Australia and New Zealand region. I'd firstly like to thank the ADNF committee for organising this event and giving BioLegend the opportunity to sponsor. I think this is a wonderful initiative and I'm very much looking forward to all the talks today. So BioLegend is a privately owned global biotech company incorporated in 2002. We're headquartered in San Diego, California, and this is a picture of our new headquarters, which opened in mid-2019, along with a picture of our founder and CEO, Jean Lay. Our mission is to enable legendary discovery from research to cure, and we aim to fulfill this mission by developing technologies and manufacturing products across research areas, including but not limited to neuroscience, stem cells, immunology, proteogenomics, and oncology. I'd also like to mention that BioLegend is always interested in forming partnerships with researchers. As an example, we work actively with groups at the Garvan Institutes and also other institutes around the world to test emerging technologies. So if there are any technologies that you'd like to work with us on, or if you'd like to discuss anything I talked about today in more detail, please get in touch with me or my colleague Hong Yan, or you can check out our website. I've also listed the contact details of our distributors in Australia and New Zealand, and I will stay around in the chat, so please feel free to message me there. Thank you very much.